All right, thank you guys so much for being here and welcome to Planning Through a Pandemic, episode 3. This session today is really dedicated towards bulletproofing your business practices and how they apply we're going to go over best practices and then kind of what that means, what you can take advantage of through this time in the pandemic. All right, so hi again, I am Tiffany Soricelli. For those of you who are just jumping on for episode 3, I give a little bit more of my background and where I'm coming from in episode 1 of the Planning Through a Pandemic. But just to give you the Cliff Notes version of who I am and where I'm coming from, I am a singer, a classically trained singer turned wealth advisor by way of nonprofit executive, hedge fund administrative assistant, and major donor fundraiser, I guess. So right now I am based outside of Saratoga Springs in upstate New York. Currently, we're all kind of getting back to life, but I'm operating from my office outside of Schenectady. I am a full-time wealth advisor for a private registered investment advisory firm. And in addition to that, I am the founder and principal of Virtuoso Advising for Artists. The creation of Virtuoso Advising for Artists was really born out of a desire to help creative professionals who didn't fit the traditional financial planning model. And so after starting my independent financial planning practice 5 years ago, I saw that there was a greater need for education, resources, and accessibility to the financial world. Most of the people in my finance world don't get the arts. And I saw that there was a major lack of planning offered to professional artists. My philosophy is that everybody deserves expert level of planning and advice. So that's why I created Virtuoso Advising. Virtuoso is education and training and coaching based for any investment advisory work I do it at my day job. A little bit more about me, upstate New York. I've got 2 kids. I'm a mom. My son turns 1 on Friday. And my daughter is 4. So yeah, you get to see them at the end of the slideshow. So if you see episode 1 and 2, you'll see both my kids too. So I am really, really, really happy you're here. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to attend this. I just want to make sure that I'm looking at my notes too. To attend this, to do something for yourself during all of the stress and chaos. I applaud you for being here, and I hope that you get a lot out of this. So just because we do touch on finances, I'm going to provide you with my disclosure again. The content here is provided through Virtuoso Advising. It's a business and consulting firm dedicated to artists and creative professionals through coaching workshops and webinars. The information provided herein is for information purposes only. It should not be used or construed as investment advice, personalized financial planning recommendations, and the opinions expressed here are that of my own, not my employer or my broker-dealer. Any questions about that, you can certainly reach out. That should pretty much, that's my CYA document here. All right, so what we're going to cover today, we're going to review planning through a pandemic to date, which includes the 3 keys that artists need and the pandemic proof of your finances. We're going to jump deeper into the business aspects of running, being a solo entrepreneur, having a creative service-based work industry that you're in, many of you. We're going to have some homework, should you choose to accept, and then we'll have a live Q&A that starts, because we started about 5 minutes late, the Q&A will begin at 3:05. I did include in the very beginning of the chat feature a PDF, and if you're watching the recording, the PDF for today is sent along with the recording link. So you can use that in real time, you can use it during a recording. It's meant to just provide anchor points and some structure while you're thinking about the work that you are doing from a business perspective. So a review of planning through a pandemic. This series was created to serve the artists being served through the Artist Relief Tree. I got involved with the Artist Relief Tree earlier on and wanted to do so. I can't give a ton of money, but I thought here I can share resources for the artists who are accepting funding so that they receive their solidarity $250, but also we can give some tools and skill sets and ideas maybe that could inspire them to grow through this time, to build on a terrible situation for many. So we started with 3 keys. We went over pandemic proofing your finances, and here we are with Bulletproof Business. I am excited to say, though, thank you for all of you who attended so far. We were able to at least provide 1 additional scholarship through Artist Relief Tree, just through the nominal registration dollars, the $5 registration that many of you paid. So thank you. This is a really great example of doing well by doing good. Here you are learning and you're benefiting yourselves, but you're also helping your fellow artists. So thank you. If you were so inspired, you can find out more about the Artist Relief Tree at artistrelieftree.com. So I keep coming back to this because this drives a lot of my educational philosophy and planning for why I do what I do. Talent alone cannot serve as the basis for a sustainable career. This was a quote that I read in a book by David Williams on contract law for artists, and the person said the quote was Stephanie Blythe. Here we have a very famous mezzo, and even she is saying it no longer, your talent can no longer serve as the basis. We need a lot more, which is why I do the education I do around goal setting, financials, and business strategy. So just a review of the 3 keys. You need to know where you're going with your clear goals. You need to alleviate fear, stress, and worry with a clear financial plan, and then begin thinking like an entrepreneur by building a targeted business strategy, which is what leads us to today. So it takes as much energy to, my thing is in my way. It takes as much energy to wish as it does to plan. I thought this was really great for today because so many of us build our careers thinking of the what if. I wish I had this, and I wish I was performing here, and I wish I was serving these clients, and I wish I had this coming in on an annual basis. And this takes it and puts the nail on the head. It takes as much energy to wish as it does to plan. So let's turn those wishes into a plan. All right, we're going to start here. Step 1, you are a business owner. I'm going to repeat that. You are a business owner. A lot of times when I started teaching about 5 years ago to artists, I actually had a couple of general managers that would go, kind of bristle like that was a relatively not talked about concept. In fact, it was considered a dirty word, right? To be in business, to be having to sell yourself and your work as an artist. And I think a lot of time creative professionals turn off that side of their brain and focus on the creativity and the creation of what their artistry is, while not giving as much time and dedication to the not so sexy business side of things. But to build a sustainable career, you do need both. You do need both sides of your brain working together. So as a business owner, you have freedom. You get to be creative. You get to dedicate your life to creation and beauty of your art. But with great power comes great responsibility. So with all of the wonderful things about how luxurious it is to be a creative professional and a business owner, I joke sometimes as a business owner, I've given up the 40-hour work week for an 80-hour work week because it's all on you. So you're responsible for your income and your marketing and your accounting and your taxes and your retirement savings and your healthcare and knowing and abiding by contract laws. And essentially you are responsible for the success of your business. That takes intentionality to move through as you're going as a business owner. So that's what we're going to cover. So the importance of business planning, a lot of times when I'm working with artists, either in a group setting or on a one-on-one basis, is that there's so much education happening at the higher education levels around the artistry and the development of your craft. And if you're, out on your own and you've been doing this for a while, or if you're a visual artist or fiber artist, you've spent so much time honing your skills and your deliverables and creating the work that you do, or even as a photographer, right? Like any other artist medium, you spent a lot of time finessing your craft, but not most creative professionals I've worked with don't actually have a clear clear business plan. And it's a bit of an afterthought, I think, sometimes when we think about, well, I do my work. I am a creative professional. I can sing or play or draw or paint or take photographs, or you're a marketing professional or a digital professional, like whatever. Do the service brings in income, do more service brings in income, right? It's a very basic level of operation. But when we get so focused on the service and the deliverable of it, we forget some of the other things that need to really be a part of a vibrant and thriving business that is going to provide us with the financial stability that we need to achieve our personal, professional, and financial goals. So a business plan provides direction. Because you can't leave it up to chance. You can't just do the work and then hope somebody calls. Eventually at some point, you have to take it upon yourself to create the business that you want. And essentially, failing to plan is planning to fail. I'm sure you've all heard that. So we cannot leave it up to chance, which means we have to get intentional. A business plan aligns goals and intentions with your actions. So many of the artists that I've worked with have a tendency to be a little bit reactive in nature. We're waiting for a call, an offer, you're waiting for a new contract, you're waiting for your next client. It's very easy to kind of take a back seat to your career. I'm ringing. To take a back seat to the forward momentum of your career and delegate it to other people. But even today, even if you have professional management in the work that you are doing, managers can't do it all. So much of this still falls back to you, the artist, to create the actions that align with the goals that you want to create through your business. So by taking time to put together a plan, you essentially take out all of the other energy that tends to get zapped down the road. So fortune favors the prepared, right? And the prepared have a plan. So it takes time, it takes intentionality, but because we're in a pandemic right now, this might be, if you choose to look at it this way, a gift. You've been able to press pause on everything, and not be jet setting all over or producing or running from event to event, rehearsal to event, to just focus on what you're creating through your business and the structure behind it all. I recently did my taxes. They're not due to the 15th, right? So I'm still in good time. But I was looking at all of my accounting for Virtuoso last year, and I was tracking my mileage and doing all the things that I teach and that you should do. I had 19 business trips last year, to New York, to DC, to Minnesota, to see Alan. There was so much travel, and it's awesome, right? That I intentionally created a business that I could travel and see the country while doing great work. But the manic pace of it all was exhausting. And here I am looking at the last 6 months and going, it's been kind of restful. So it's important to take this time and see it as the gift that it is, to create the space to get intentional around some of the strategies behind your business. So every entrepreneur knows that being an entrepreneur or a business owner doesn't just entitle like one role, right? There's a great book called The E-Myth that details that every entrepreneur essentially has 3 roles. You are the entrepreneur, which is you're the visionary. You are the big picture thinking. You're thinking long-term, the more abstract parts of the business. Creative professionals are really good at this, right? You're great at dreaming and seeing that where you want to go and what you want to create. Like this is the big visionary part. But you are also the manager, which means you are essentially the business operations person behind it all. And that doesn't even take the service or the performing aspect of the artistry that you create. This is your accounting, your marketing, your taxes, your filing, your administrative, your emailing. I mean, this is the operations part of it. So it's very different than the big picture thinking energy of a visionary and an entrepreneur down to the nitty gritty. I'm an operations manager running everything. And then in addition to that, you are the technician. You are the service provider for essentially what you're creating. E-Myth, thank you, Jeremiah. So you have to have all of these hats all at a given time. And a lot of times with business owners that I've worked with, you get to a point where you're like, I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to do everything anymore. So it doesn't mean that you have to stop or give up or throw in the towel, but it means this is an opportunity to get really intentional about what roles do you like? What are you naturally good at? What do you enjoy? And then we can't just forget about the other parts of running a business, but we can delegate it or find systems or automations that we can put in place to make sure those parts of the business are taken care of and getting done, while freeing you up to dedicate to the areas of your business that you want. So I think a lot of times as we come out, we start our work as a creative professional and we only identify as a technician. Maybe sometimes the entrepreneur, the visionary, but like we work as the technician, and the manager is usually the area that gets neglected. I know there's at least one client that I work with who she tells me, she's like joking, but she's like, Tiffany, today is my manager day. And she actually like puts on a pair of like stilettos that day to like get into her power pumps and take ownership, right? Even if she's in pajamas, she's like, it just makes her feel a little bit more focused on what she needs to accomplish that day so she can just get things done. So whatever works for you, it's just important to know that you wear all three hats unless you delegate somebody else to do it. And that we have to think about the systems behind it to make sure that all of these parts of your business are supported. So bulletproof business practices. We're going to talk about knowing your why, knowing your numbers. Oh, it comes back to numbers, guys. He thought this wasn't going to be about numbers. And the importance of spending time on your business, not just in your business. So your why. I love this quote, Earth without art is just so this is where the PDF is going to come in handy. You don't have to do it right now, but we're going to kind of talk a little bit openly about what it means to hone your why and to get very, very clear on what it is. So I recommend grab a pen and paper and name the following. You can do it now, you can do it later, but why did you start down this career path or creative path? What were the dreams of your teenage self? And what is the vision for the work, for your work and what you're contributing to this world? This is a great time to focus on these three questions when things are a little bit slower and you have some space to evaluate what you've been doing, running your rampant pace up till now, and where you see yourself when we get back to normal, whatever that means. So I love that second question. What were the dreams of your teenage self? Because we forget, we enter adulthood and we get into the regimen of it all, paying bills, wake up, go to work, do the work, see friends, eat meals, rinse, repeat, right? Like it just, we get into such a routine that when you sit down and you think about like, what did I want when I was 13? What did I think? I'm 37. What did I think 37 would be like when I was 16? And figuring that out and spending some time, I encourage you to write around it. But if that's not the medium that works for you, I know sometimes people will record themselves just verbal diarrheaing, like just talk into a recorder and talk it out or talk to somebody else. Or like I said, there are boxes on that sheet for a reason, because some people doodle or paint or create as they're kind of processing some of these thoughts. But the importance of knowing your why is a cornerstone to the business, because essentially once you're clear on what the why is, that becomes that essentially your why becomes as like a lighthouse or a light post for all the things in your business that you are creating. It's going towards like, what are you doing here? The next part is defining what it is that you do. And it's not just actions, but it's impact. So an example of this is I'm a singer. So I'm not going to just say I am a singer, but essentially I allow audiences to connect with their deeper selves through the listening or experiencing of live music. I know, if you're a photographer, maybe it's you are essential to the preservation of important memories for families and communities. or you're a photojournalist, or if you're a visual artist, you allow your demographic or your clients to connect with art and beauty in a way that feeds their soul and makes them better people, or allows them to connect with their world in a more authentic way. Whatever it is, this is the work, right? Figuring out what it is that you do. And this is going to be really important because your why and my why are very different than anybody else's why. And that will guide some of the other decisions in the business as you're looking forward and creating that. So define what it is that you do. What is the impact that you're creating? This will also give you more confidence in the essential nature of what it is that you do. I firmly believe that this world needs art and beauty and culture in ways that, I mean, we've always needed it for our society, but I just think that with things being so crazy and spinning out, we need it more than ever. We need it to connect people. We need it to heal a lot of what's happening in our world today. So that drives my passion behind Virtuoso, because I've created essentially an entity to serve people doing this art. So it gives me passion. It wakes me up every day, and it brings me here to you guys. So thinking about what it is that drives you will also help get you through some hard times, like a global pandemic, like all of the societal unrest that we're seeing right now, which is all good for a reason, because we're seeing some well overdue changes, or people, I guess, becoming more aware. But I think it's important to hone your driving compass and really focus on how that's going to drive you going forward. Because once you know your why, nothing can detract you from this career. And it's hard to survive a long-lasting career in the arts. Your why must be bigger than all of the objections that are going to be coming at you all the time, from managers, from clients, from colleagues, from yourself. You know, you're going to even have to drown out the din within your own subconscious that's going, maybe you should do something else. Maybe you're not as good. Maybe. Once you know your why and you identify with that, focus on that. That will get you forward. That will keep you moving in the right direction. Then, once you've done the work, you know what it is that you do and why you do it, this becomes your personal mission statement. It's something that you can write down and you can revamp and you can hone and you can put it on your website or put it on your bathroom mirror, whatever. Put it on a place that you're going to see it regularly to remind you of what it is that you do. You were put here on this earth to bring your talents into the world. What are they? Why do you do them? Why do we need them? And have them articulated in your personal mission statement. Before we jump into knowing your numbers, because we're live, any questions on your why? All right. Oh. What if your why changes? Amanda, that's a great question. It's okay if your why changes. As you grow as a person, as you have experiences in your life, and in your work, you're gonna find that you're going to evolve over time. This isn't something that you necessarily have to tattoo on your chest so you see it every day. But it's okay that your why changes. But essentially, by creating your why, whatever it is in today, in this current moment, and allowing that to be a guidepost, you're going to move in that direction. And then if you hone it, or if you come to a point where you're like, actually, I kind of want to go there, you're always going to be moving forward, but you're going to find yourself on a path that's going to get you to essentially where you need to be. I went to college to be a singer. I thought, I went to the Crane School of Music because Renee Fleming went to the Crane School of Music, right? Like, follow the path of the successful people, they leave breadcrumbs, right? So I did that. And then I found myself in arts management because I loved working with artists. I loved supporting their careers and working in that space. And then I actually kind of fell in love with finance in New York and went to the hedge fund. And then, I thought, here I can serve a greater part of giving back to the arts, also being philanthropic. And then I kind of found myself back to the nonprofit world. So, I mean, you're gonna meander as you go throughout your life. It is okay that your why changes. And these exercises, these, you know, the PDF and everything, these tools and the exercises that you go through, would be good to revisit on an annual or even every like 3 to 5 year basis, to check in. How are we doing? And where are we going? A regular review of your business plan or your business essentials is recommended. That's a great question. Any other questions about your why? Sorry, it was kind of long-winded, but I'm glad it was helpful. All right, so knowing your numbers. All right, so this is really important. We've spent all of episode 2 talking about the importance of your finances, right? So I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of like what's an asset and a liability, blah, 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 blah. If you have questions about budgeting or finances, go watch episode 2. And if you didn't already register for that, you can still do so. We have the videos available through the Eventbrite. And Jeremiah, I will let you share those where people can access the videos of previous sessions. So your income statement, otherwise known as your profit and loss statement. So as a business owner, it's really, 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 really important that you are keeping track of your bottom line or your profit or how much money you're making. A lot of times with artists I've worked with, when we start to dig deeper into these numbers, they're actually not running a business. They're running a very expensive hobby. So it's important to, this is when you have to kind of put your capitalistic hat on and step into the manager role and think, what is the income return for what I'm doing? Because I don't know anybody who does the work or who is an artist just for, fun. We all want to get paid. We all deserve to be paid for what you do. So yeah, I like to eat. I don't know about anybody else, but so it's important that you get paid your worth for what you're doing. So knowing your worth, knowing your numbers is a crucial part of that. So this is what an income statement looks like. So this is the first part, and we're going to actually look at this. This is just a sample I found online to dig into this. So what you see is that this art business person, this sole proprietorship, is tracking their revenue, sales coming in, and then the cost of producing those sales. So step 1 is knowing how are you bringing in income. So for them, they have original art, which they make $30,000 on. I want to paint. They have limited edition prints that brings in $20,000 a year, and then they sell frames for $2,400. Okay, so total revenue for this person's art business is $52,900. What they have here now is the cost of those sales. So the purchase of canvas for the original art is $1,000. The paint supplies in support of original art is $1,250, right? So all of these things, you can see that the costs are associated with these revenue streams. So essentially their gross number, right? You're probably going to hear people talk about your gross revenue and your net revenue. Your gross is everything before expenses, right? Everything before taxes. So your top, on top, it's $52,900. But when he takes out or he or she takes out the cost of actually earning that, it's closer to $11,650. It's a big difference. I think a lot of times as artists, we get very focused on this gross number and think all of my 1099s equal this, or all of my revenue last year equaled this, and it feels really good, but we're not necessarily properly tracking how much it costs to get there. The cost of lessons for a lot of you are musicians, so the cost of lessons, the cost of coachings, the cost of language studies, the cost of your performance wear, all of these things that you deduct on your taxes, essentially. If you're tracking your expenses for the cost of producing the art, there's a difference between all the other expenses, which we'll talk about in a second, but the cost of producing the art, right? If I'm singing a Carmen, I've had 5 coachings on my French. The cost of those coachings is going to be deducted from my check that I'm getting to perform that role. It allows you to look very, very carefully at how profitable you are. and invest strategically. Because if you're getting paid, $5,000 for a performance, and you see that you're going to have to invest at least $1,500, you may make different investment decisions, or you may engage a coach to coach you half on this current role and half on the one down the road 3 months from now, and get strategic about how you're paying for these things and planning accordingly. So we always want to be aware of what our gross numbers are, and then our net. Sorry, they're saying gross profit is here, but total revenue is up here. And then after we take out all of the expenses, that's what's left. Then I'm just moving my mirror so I can see this, my thing. So, and then once we have, so this is just a continuation down the thing. So then we have all the rest of our expenses, right? So once we take out all of the cost of doing the work, then you have your top profit. Then you've got the rest of your expenses, right? Your studio rental, your advertising, your what you pay to your manager for getting you the gig, your dues, your travel, your everything else, right? That we throw, your cell phone, anything not directly associated with one line of revenue gets associated there. And then we're looking at like, okay, so after we take out the expenses, then we have the net, right? Then we have what's left. We also calculate taxes based on what's left to show total income after taxes. So when you're thinking about your business, it's important to keep track of these things, knowing your numbers. Again, we talked about know your numbers in the personal sense, but all of that also ties into to running as a business and thinking as a business person. I think we've all known people that will, I know a photographer who, invests thousands and thousands of dollars in equipment, but you're going to appreciate that over time, but also the cost of travel and everything like that. Like if you're not going to add all of those costs of doing business into the production of the event, into the shooting of an event, then you might run a deficit. Or, as a singer, taking a wedding that's going to pay you $500, but it's going to cost me $750 to get there. Unless I like that bride very, very much, I'm not going to lose, right? If a business decision, you're not going to lose $250 on that gig. So it allows you, by knowing your numbers, it allows you to make really strategic financial decisions based in your business. So once you know your numbers, and I do recommend you running your own income statement or your profit and loss statement. Once you know your numbers, then you do the analysis. And this is spending time and really kind of, I like to say like massaging them, but like play with them, understand what's coming in, what's not going out. Your numbers tell a story. They tell the story of your business. So are you running a profit or a deficit? Are there opportunities to diversify income streams? If we look back, that this individual had original art, limited prints, and frames. As a singer, for me, maybe that's opera work, concert work, teaching, whatever. Whatever it is for you, looking at opportunities to diversify the income streams that you're doing. And then what blue ocean strategies can you explore? Now, this is, there was a great book on business strategy that I read a couple of years ago about blue ocean strategy. And essentially it's, so in a red ocean, right? Like if there's blood in the water, all of the sharks come to swim, right? Everybody comes all at once. So the idea is you don't want to be in the red ocean. You don't want to be where everybody else is. You want to go seek out blue oceans where you can create and cultivate and not be in the mix of what everybody else is doing. So when we think about blue ocean strategies, what can you do to remove you from the feeding frenzy to where there is greater opportunity? This is where you can get a little bit creative, and there's a box in the PDF to do this. Thinking about going where others haven't. So maybe it's teaching or audience development, these things that are complementary to a career in arts. Maybe it's running a donor education series, or helping patrons understand their role. I'm just thinking outside the box. When the pandemic started, it was my sister's birthday and we had to cancel a trip to see her. And I remember thinking, all right, so who's going to start the virtual singing telegram that I can literally pay somebody to pop into her Facebook or whatever and sing a telegram. Because honestly, if you can think of it, some other people will too. And there's probably a need. It's just a matter of finding something that you like and enjoy and that you can create and put some of the energy into. The other thing is that this is in the pandemic, a good time to get creative. And this is what you're good at as creative professionals. You are really, really great about thinking creatively, think outside the box. Here, many performing opportunities are canceled or delayed for another year. So as we take a step back, I know so many people are looking at online opportunities or online digital remote collaborations that they're able to do. There are online operas being produced. There are online concerts, work from home, perform from home opportunities. There's a lot of opportunities here. I know before this was happening, I don't know who it is, and I'm not like telling trade secrets, but I caught wind of somebody saying that they're creating a GPS-based I need an accompanist now app for singers who are like, especially in audition season, when you're like, my time changed and my accompanist can't do it. I need, it's like Uber for collaborative musicians. Things like that. That's thinking outside the box. That's knowing your role in the industry that you're serving and a part of, and helping to, move the whole industry forward, not just yourself and your own career. So thinking about those collaborative experiences, what are those blue ocean strategies that you can employ? And then evaluate the trajectory of your business, right? So knowing where you are, knowing your why, what you're doing, especially if your industry is closed during this pandemic or your work is closed during the pandemic. I've seen photographers that had major wedding cancellations and large events, and then they started doing the front porch sessions, right? So it's pivoting, it's getting really strategic and saying, like, I help people capture memories. And this is a very strange and unique time that also needs captured. And so they've gone door to door and social distancing, take photograph, so whatever it is, it's evaluating where you are and where you're going. And so once you know where those opportunities are, you can actually start crafting like the vision. You don't need to know every step of the way. A lot of business owners get stuck in well, I don't know exactly how I get from A to B. I don't know every single, step, but that's okay, because you want to get to B. And so you just take a step and then begin moving forward. And all you need to do is, how many of you have seen Frozen, right? I have a 4-year-old, so I've seen it all the time. You need to do the next right thing. Get to B. By knowing your numbers, it allows you to focus on what needs to be delegated or investments that you need to purchase to scale your business. So if you're looking back at your expenses and you're like, I kind of spent a lot of my time on social media and I'm putting a lot of money into promoting some of my work, maybe you can find another more economical way to do it. Or maybe you can actually pay somebody and then you don't have to worry about the cost yourself, but you're paying a service that's going to maximize the investment in that area. Or if you know the trajectory of your business and you decide that you want to scale, and the scale doesn't always mean numbers. It doesn't always mean revenue. Maybe it's impact. Maybe it's number of performances you're doing. Maybe it's number of commissions that you're doing on an annual year, whatever you define it. If you're scaling your business and okay, well, in order to scale, I need to invest in a new machine or a new printer or a new widget, whatever. It allows you to be really intentional of like, okay, I might have to make an investment over here to move forward, right? And it allows you to make intentional investment decisions once you know what is your profitability, what are you running on an annual basis. And it's important to track this every year or every quarter, even if things are changing quickly, to evaluate and allow you to make strategic decisions moving forward, given the data that you have. And then once you know the trajectory, you have some plans around what can be delegated or what you can invest in, create an action step for what you can do in the next 90 days to move forward in the direction of your goals. Again, you don't need to know every single step to get you to B, but take the next thing. Maybe it's, I'm gonna run my profit and loss statement, step 1. Figure that out, think about what you can do in the next 90 days, and then hold yourself accountable. Maybe even put reminders on your calendar. Okay, by 3 weeks from now, you should have X done. Or make sure you call this person to learn more about this system that's going to help me in the business, right? create and little teeny tiny bites to help you move in the direction that you want will always keep you moving forward, even in challenging times. All right, sorry, before moving forward, any other questions about knowing your numbers? All right. Working in your business versus working on your business. So a lot of times as creative professionals, you do the service, you do the work, you rehearse, you sing, you play, you paint, you shoot, whatever it is. You spend all the time in the technician hat, but there's so many other parts of your business that need attention and nurturing and time. So working in your business is doing the service. Just want to make sure I get this. Amanda asks, sorry, before we jump into the in your business, Amanda asks, can unemployment or survival job be part of the numbers even though it isn't associated with your art? That's a really good question. It depends on what you're measuring. It depends on what your goals are. Your W-2 job or your, as you say, survival job might support your professional financial goals. But as you're thinking about the work that you're building and cultivating, you want to make sure that you're measuring and growing a business. So if your goal is to move from unemployment or a non-art job and move into the direction of a full-time art work, then you're going to want to make sure you're measuring things in the full-time artwork, because you want to see that bottom line go from $500 to $1,200 to $5,000, right? We want to measure that and make sure we're moving forward in that direction so that this survival job becomes less important. So I wouldn't factor that in necessarily, because again, we're measuring and scaling the growth of a business. Now, if your survival job, as you call it, complements your work, maybe you're a full-time teacher who also performs or plays or does, then you can put it all in, right? And this is my teaching income, my studio income, my performance income, and this is, you know, me Inc., right? All together. It just depends on what you're measuring and what direction you want to go in. Cool. I hope that clarified. All right. So business activities that are frequently neglected, they include, but are not limited to, accounting, marketing, I just want to make sure I'm advancing both, being your own publicist, brand management, sales, contract management, scheduling, filing, tax planning, audience development, customer service, relationship development, hiring or employee management, HR tasks, including getting or managing your own benefits, your healthcare, your retirement, all of those things that somebody else does if you have a survival job. As Amanda says, I love that term. And then you also have to do the work, right? Deliver the service, do the art, right? So it's just, there's so much to this that honestly, all of the ones above do the work are probably what get most neglected. People just kind of are like, I don't know, I'll just do that later. And then 2 weeks before tax time, they're going, where are my receipts? So I think it's really important that you know that these other pieces exist. And even if we're not going to spend a ton of time around them, we have to have a plan around them. Like I said, we're not limited to just this. I tried to create a general list of what people generally need to look at. You know, when I think about my work, and what I'm doing, I like these pieces. These are the things that I like. I do my accounting, kind of a nerd's geek, because I like to flex the numbers and see, am I running a profit? Am I not? Where are my opportunities, right? Numbers tell a story of the growth of a business. I like sales. I like reaching out to organizations or individuals and seeing if I can help them solve a problem they have. I like managing my own contracts. Even if people are like, the email will suffice. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to send you a contract just because I am a numbers person and a rule follower. I do my own scheduling because I like to manage my own calendar. But some people don't like that part, right? Or like you guys see at the end of this, there's a Calendly link to get 15 minutes with me. The Calendly stuff, like I can't be inundated with like every 15-minute slot. So I'll have Calendly at least get that on the calendar. And then if there's a conflict or something like that, it allows me to reach back out to the individual and say, hey, can we shift 15 minutes or whatever, just based on what the need is. But I like the control of my calendar. audience development. I like cultivating new people in the work that I'm doing through Virtuoso, and doing some of the Facebook Lives or whatever I'm doing to help build an audience. And really it's to grow the community of financially savvy artists. That's part of the mission of Virtuoso, but that, for me, I guess I would say, is under audience development and relationship development with the individuals that I've had the privilege of serving or working with, making sure that we stay in touch and that a year and a half doesn't go by without me checking in and saying, how are you doing towards your goals? Do you have any questions? Do we need to revisit anything? And then I like to do the work. Now, all of the things in white, I don't like doing. I don't. And so it largely doesn't get done, or I have to delegate it. And that includes being my own publicist, my brand management, my marketing. Filing is not a strong point, though I know where everything is. It just is in piles, not files. Maybe when I don't have two under the age of 5, I'll have time to actually put things in files, but I have everything and I know where it is. I just don't like filing. Tax planning, I hire a CPA. He's a rock star and I love working with him. I've worked with him for the last 5 years because he also helps me plan, not just file my taxes, but think strategically around areas of opportunity that I could take advantage of as a business owner to reduce my taxes or to be strategic with how I'm paying my taxes, not just quarterlies, but, looking at my business model, he gives me feedback on what else I can do or areas of opportunity given the tax law that I can take advantage of. It's a good partner to have. Hiring and employee management. When Virtuoso goes in that direction, I've already delegated a chief operations manager because that's something that I'm not going to have the time to do every single day. And then HR tasks, right? Like that, I don't love. I love that I have a day job where there's somebody to do that. So I think spend some time, and there's a place in the PDF to really brainstorm about all of the different activities in your business, right? Given what you want to create and what you do in terms of your service area, what are all of the different activities that your business entails? Then on the homework, I say you should circle the ones that you like, then star the ones that you're good at. And if time is a issue, then maybe only focus on the ones that you're good at, and then find ways that you can delegate the rest. That doesn't just mean to people. That doesn't mean you have to hire a team. That means maybe you get a QuickBooks app or something, for instance, like accounting. Then you know that you just use the app and it makes accounting pretty quick and painless. There is an app for everything. There is technology that can support you, but it takes some time in your business to build the strategies of, okay, how do I make sure I attack all of those things without taxing so much of my time or my mental energy that's going to detract me from being able to do my highest and best work. This is business planning, right? And given time in the pandemic, when you're not running, you can take a step back and look at the systems that you have in place to help support you in that long-term goal of growing your business. Now, the difference of working in your business than working on your business is when you're working on your business, you put on your entrepreneur hat, right? You think this is the vision work. Looking at what I'm doing through the work that I'm doing and how I can create impact in the world and fulfill my highest and greatest good. It's the big picture thinking. Not only am I just a little drop in the ocean, but how do I operate with other little drops in the ocean in our industry to move the industry as a whole forward? This is you just want to get to like the meta level of what you do. And how what you do impacts others, and ways that you can continue to serve the world and the community, but also grow your business in alignment with what your goals and values are. Again, if you need to paint this or write it or dance it or, whatever it is, this is time that you get on your business. It's hard to create space to work on your business. As someone, this is something that I struggle with a lot. What I do is occasionally, what works for me is I take myself on a date. When I could go somewhere public, I would go to a bar or sit someplace where I can have a glass of wine and my journal and just dream, thinking about and puzzle solving some of these big things. The other ways that I work on my business are deep conversations with other people in the business. And whether they're colleagues of mine doing the same thing, or they serve the industry in a different way. Feed off other people's ideas and energies is a really great way to then inspire myself with new ideas for my work. Learning, never stop learning, right? But also focusing on personal and professional development. So much, especially for young professionals, so much of your career started with drill and routine and build these skill sets and learn this repertoire and make sure you have these techniques down, and you invest in this equipment for your art or whatever, right? So much of it is on, you know, the nuts and bolts. But honestly, you get out and you're kind of like a little shell shock and you're like, okay, well now I have to operate and build and create in this world. Spending some time on professional development will also inform every other area of your life. Maybe it's just reading a book, or I was in a book club that only read professional development stuff, a bunch of female business owners. And we would, when I walk or driving someplace. But some of my favorites are You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. You Are a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero. I use some of her tools also in some of the courses that I teach. Things like The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield is a good one. The Power of Habit that came out a couple of years ago, also a good one. Any area that sparks your interest or you think, I don't know anything about that. Finding some time to create space to do some of that professional development work will only help every other area of your life. I didn't know anything about neuroplasticity, but when I read The Power of Habit, I learned that you can train your brain to recreate habits, and the habits will support the actions you do on a daily basis to get to your goals. So all of that comes in together. So spending some time learning. Now, if we don't get intentional around it, though, it's very easy to kind of get into the busyness of our lives and forget, you know, oh my God, it's a quarter and a half. It's been 5 months since I've read anything that wasn't work related, or a new score, or, you know, working on my WordPress site or whatever. So making sure that you kind of even create like a checklist for yourself, or maybe a reminder in your calendar. It's July. What are you reading this month? Make sure that you take some time to do some professional development for yourself. It'll only benefit your business. I'm not sure. There's a lot of that are only paying in exposure dollars. I struggle a lot with this on many levels. Any thoughts on exposure gigs? That's a good question, Courtney. My internet connection is unstable, but I think we're good. It comes back to your goals. It comes back to what you want. But it also has to be framed in the fact that we are in an unprecedented time. And so when you're thinking about, yes, you need to eat, you need to take care of your bottom line, you need to build a business, you need to be thinking about that. But if the exposure dollars, as you say, put you in alignment with what you want to do to keep music alive, or to help reach people during a global pandemic, or to further develop your skills, if you enjoy it and it's heart fulfilling for you to do, I can't tell you how to feel, but I would say that exposure dollars in a global pandemic, if it makes you feel good, then do it. If you don't want to give away your talent for free, then don't. But maybe have a bigger conversation, or maybe think about different ways that you can leverage your skill set or your time to further advance your culture and art and career. I can't speak for anybody else, but I think that if you turn down an opportunity for singing, you know, for exposure dollars, given the fact that you need to dedicate more time towards real paying gigs, nobody should fault you for that. Again, it all comes back to you're responsible for your own financial well-being. That being said, if you do an exposure gig, you might be able to do it intentionally by knowing, okay, well, this is going to be seen by that coach or that conductor that I really want to work with next year when they're at Des Moines, or you can make sure that, you know, maybe it's an exposure gig, but it's going to get you a recording that then you can send to the general manager for said house that you want to be working with. So I think you can start to think about how it plays in. How does this opportunity play into what you want to create big time? Again, taking into the frame that we are in a pandemic, and how, I guess, maybe think about how you can use it to advance or springboard out of this once things reopen. I don't know. I'm sure other people have different feelings about that, but awesome. Going back to the why, yeah, Cindy does a lot of great work around the business, and she's sharing, if for people watching the recording, cindysadler.com with how to pay an artist with exposure. So I'm gonna have to check that out. Thank you for sharing that. Back to working on the business. Once you know, another area to work on the business is when you're looking at the things you like, the things you don't like. This is when you're thinking strategically, more from an operations management standpoint. Then you develop the systems and the workflows to make sure that anything else on your list that you need to delegate doesn't get neglected. Again, maybe it's using a calendar just to schedule your social media posts and remind yourself to do it. But being intentional around some of those other business activities that you might not love will help keep you moving forward. No need to sidetrack. You're all good. Thanks, Courtney. All right. So best practices. We've got another 5 minutes. So business best practices during a pandemic, right? Because we've talked about all of these things, which, I mean, Courtney, to your point, like all of this works in the before or in non-pandemic times. And how do we navigate the uncertainty of the world we're living in right now? And I don't have all the answers, first to say that. But some of the best practices that I've been teaching and that I've heard other people teaching are really numero uno: take care of you first. If you given your the pain in your heart, given all of the things that are happening in our country or in our world right now, you do not have the time or headspace or bandwidth to dedicate to developing a platinum business plan right now for your service-based career, creative career. That's okay. You're fine. Take care of you. Do what fills you up. Do what feeds your heart and your soul in this time. Uniquely enough, what generally ends up, feeding your soul will also sometimes feed back into your business, right? But take care of you first. Spend some time on the business. Again, thinking big picture, looking at your business operation systems, brainstorming or dreaming about other areas of opportunity. Find those blue ocean strategies that you can follow and kind of dabble in. I was teaching at Washington National Opera, and one of the artists, this was a couple of years ago, we were talking about career adjacent things that you can do as a singer. And one of the brilliant pianists that was there kind of came to me with an idea of what he wanted to create. And we just kind of spitballed and brainstormed some of the areas of interest he had. And now it's just crazy. He built a website. He was thinking about ways to aggregate live performances based on geographic data. He took the time that he had to learn coding and, WordPress sites, and really just develop a skill set that he didn't have prior to starting this program. Fast forward a couple of years and here we are now. Thomas Morris has built an incredible website for the Artist Relief Tree, and he's moving in, still doing the work, but he's definitely providing services to other arts institutions that are maybe struggling with some of the digital content during this time, just because he was interested in it and he was looking for some other way to serve the field. I love him. He does great work. So that was just one person thinking about brainstorming, literally like, I don't know, can we aggregate live performances? I don't know, figure it out. And he did. If you can dream it, it can be done. So spending some time on the business. Definitely run your numbers. On the worksheet or on your homework, I ask, what are your 2019 numbers, right? In the before, how much did you make last year? What were your expenses last year? Did you actually categorize them? Not just for your taxes, but did you look at the bottom line saying, okay, am I profitable? How can I scale this? Evaluate your income sources. Have you always wanted to write a book, or maybe, develop a website to serve other people in your community? One of the things you can think about in this time is, who else needs to know more about what you do? Colleges and university are hiring and trying to find ways of creating online content for their students in the fall. Maybe reach back to your alma mater and say, hey, I can teach a class on what it's like to be a working professional in today's global economy. Or if you have a unique skill set, finding ways that you can put it out there, here to help. You have a content need that you need to fulfill, and I can at least take one Friday or every other Friday off your hands and help teach that. That's a different income revenue stream. Or maybe you're going to dream about some brand new app that I can't even conceptualize, but that is needed in your industry. Evaluate those income sources and start stacking them. Really, the more diversified you are via how you make your money, the more bulletproof your business will be long term. Create that business strategy. It doesn't have to be some 5-inch binder that you look at once and then never come back to. But the strategy is really, these are my revenue streams. This is how I make my money. This is who I serve. This is what I do. This is how I do it. And this is, the other components in terms of operations, your marketing, how I market it, how I find clients, how I get out there. Again, stepping out of that reactionary role in the industry and being really proactive. That doesn't mean that you're going to say, hi, give me a contract, I want to work for you. But it does mean that if you get intentional, you can make sure that you're connecting with and networking with and trying to get your art and music in front of the right people that then may have an opportunity for you. Being top of mind in any artistic industry is important, because when hiring decisions need made and you're top of mind and they like you, everything is built on relationships. So create a business strategy in alignment with where you want to go, and then start taking action steps, or making clear action steps that you can take to move forward. And then reach out for help, whether it's to a friend or a colleague or a partner, a parent, a mentor. Ask for an accountability partner to help you cultivate this, or even just be a sounding board. Your homework: write down and revisit your why, evaluate where you are in your business, and identify where you want to be. Like I said, A to B, figure out how we close the gap. You don't need to know every step, but as long as you know where you want to go, take one action to move you in that direction. Run your numbers. And I would say schedule the next time you're going to run your numbers. Run them now, and then schedule it maybe in January or next June, or whatever. But schedule the time to run your numbers. Identify areas of opportunity as you see them in your business. List your action steps, and then find your partner, your accountability buddy. That's Juniper, my daughter. She is on top of Panther Mountain in the Adirondacks. We just hiked a couple of weekends ago, and she's here to tell you, you can do it. So now we're kind of moving into the Q&A section. So if you have any questions, please use the chat feature. Let me know what questions you have. Got a couple more minutes. It could be about your why, or business strategy, business systems. Maybe you found something that really works that you think everybody else would benefit from, or an app you use. Definitely add to the chat feature, or unmute yourself. We're not a huge group. Amanda asked, how long are you offering a 15-minute session? The Calendly link is there. It's live. I don't know if you can see it if my thing is in the way, but so calendly.com/virtuoso. That's live. So if you decide in 3 months from now you want 15 minutes, that just gets you 15 minutes, and we'll connect. Any good places to learn PR and marketing for artists? That's a fantastic question. Erin, I know I mean, I just recently got connected to Daniel Welsh for the Beard and Lens. He's a photographer that also does branding sessions. He allows he does some business strategy, but he also has a podcast that he talks a little bit more about some of the PR. I think if you want to learn about PR for artists, there's a ton of universities right now offering free tools, free classes. You can audit a class to learn about that if now is a good time that you have space to do that. I would also check with if there's an artist that you follow or a colleague who does what you want really, really well. A lot of times we can go laterally and say, hey, I love your website. I love your branding. I love your content marketing. Like, tell me what you do. Maybe they can point you in the direction of who they've worked with as a business coach or a business strategist, and start to kind of pick up little nuggets along the way. Erin, the other thing I would say in terms of marketing for artists and PR is that don't necessarily limit your search to only arts individuals or people who work with arts individuals. You can learn just as much from anybody marketing to any other industry, universal practices, the psychology behind marketing and connecting with audiences and that kind of thing. So if you kind of do some beginning searches, there's some great podcasts out there, there's some YouTube videos, but allow yourself to kind of fall down that rabbit hole. That might be fun. And then when you get everything you can teach it to everybody else who wants to learn as well. So that's just another revenue stream that you can take advantage of. I mean, can we see your presentation as a PDF or is that just the recording? Oh, that is Cassandra, that is the PDF worksheet that accompanies the recording of the video. I will send you, let me think about this. I will email you for the slide deck. I think I can create that in a PDF and then email it to you. Other questions? Any tips on changing habits, especially related to ones in the business? So that's a great question. Habits are tricky. It's a pattern of behavior, right? It's also a pattern of thought processes. And it's easy to kind of fall back into the neural pathways that you've already created for yourself. I'm just looking up the book by Charles Duhigg, The Power of Habit. There's like a spinning wheel on a Ferris wheel on the front. It's fascinating. I would say that's a great resource. So once you know, when I would say read that or audible it, because it talks a lot about what habits are, how they get ingrained in our brains and our behaviors, and then how to change it. Some of it is understanding what your triggers are in terms of, for lack of a better example, a point of sale purchase, right? Grabbing a candy bar while I'm checking out at my grocery store. The trigger is checking out at my grocery store and having it right there. Thank you, Jeremiah. And so if I want to change that, maybe I have to give myself a reminder or give myself another reward or something like that to change the habit of buying something at a point of sale, or just being really intentional and my brain's turned on at that time so I don't continue to repeat that habit. Habits of thought are also what they cover in that book. But I think part of it is understanding where you are. I can also recommend Atomic Habits. Great. Thank you, Erin. Understanding where you are and what habits you have that you want to change. And then doing a little bit of the digging in terms of the behaviors that support that habit, and then cultivating behaviors that change the habit. But so much of what we do is subconscious. So the first step is really getting clear on what are the habits that you need to change, why are you doing them, and how can we replace them? Just getting rid of them isn't good enough. You have to replace them and kind of create a new pathway. Yeah. Any other resources you guys have, please add it. Amanda, with goals, having trouble doing personal, professional, and financial goal tasks in one day. suggestions on making steps for these goals every day without getting winded? That's a great question. There are, any given day, you can probably focus on 3 things, maybe 5. You are, I would say break it down into what you want to do on a more simpler level. Maybe you look at, these are the things that I want to achieve in a 5 or 7 day week, and then allow yourself to do like 1 at a time. There's also ways that you can create a habit tracker to focus on those tasks in support of those personal, professional, and financial goals. And you can track like on a daily basis. I guess just Google habit tracker. It's a bullet journal technique, but you can just honestly create like a grid or a worksheet yourself that you kind of keep doing. And if you're getting winded, then it's really a matter of reevaluating what your top 3 priorities are. There's a technique of eating the frog first. So do whatever's the hardest in the morning, because our mental capacity and discipline, if you will, is strongest in the morning before we've gotten winded. So I would say go ahead and tackle what you can first, break it down even smaller, like give yourself some grace. Don't try and do 15 things in a day. But then maybe know like, okay, on Mondays and Wednesdays, I need to do that, but Tuesdays and Thursdays, I do this, until you find some sort of a rhythm that feels good to you. Jeremiah shares the Atomic Habits, an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones by James Clear was a resource that was shared. Oh, now I'm going up. Cassandra mentioned a Trello board. Y'all are moving too fast. I can't keep track. Trello has helped. It's an organization, TRELLO, to help organize different tasks or systems. That's a great. I've used that in Virtuoso with our team to help keep track of that. Productivity planner is awesome for breaking tasks down, says Zoe as well. Great. I love that you guys are helping each other. I love that we're collaborating on this because I'm sure we can learn so much from one another. There's more over in the Virtuoso Studio Artist Facebook group of wanting to, if you have ideas to share, building the community over there of other financially and business savvy artists who want to just kind of talk and geek out about this. So if you have ideas and you want to share, that's a great space to do it. You like the idea of eating the frog first. Yeah, Courtney, one of the things I read was that, like Oprah Winfrey doesn't wake up first thing in the morning and get stuck on her cell phone and scroll all day, right? High producing individuals and very busy individuals, generally successful individuals, have been noted to or reported to be intentional with how they start their day, and maybe not even like, maybe you don't check email first thing or you don't get on Facebook first thing. You just get up and you take care of what you prioritize for yourself. Because I think sometimes when we go down those rabbit holes of email or Facebook, we let other people dictate our responses and then the tone for our day and what we tend to achieve. So I think one of the things to help drive back to your personal, professional, and financial goals and what you're trying to do on a daily basis could be creating a system or a routine in the morning that allows you to be intentional with how you begin your day, and moving away from some things that might hijack your brain or your energy. Thank you. This is wonderful. Thank you for your questions and for your discussion. The group just mentioned of people sharing ideas. So it's Virtuoso Studio Artists. It's a private Facebook group that I started to just, sometimes I drop articles and stuff in there, productivity things or financial things or business things. But the idea is that it's a safe space for people to ask questions in real time. And I monitor that. So I can give real-time feedback for financial or business questions, or, I have a CPA that pops her head in, and if there's tax questions, I'll tag her, she'll answer. So it's just another resource and a community for people who want to be financially and business minded, yet creative artists. So yeah. Thank you. I'm going to stop the recording here. And again, there's the Calendly link. Let me know if you have questions.